Microservices. Microservices is very big topic, and that is something which we cannot mold it in one particular small tiny lecture, okay? But I'm just trying to give you very high level understanding around the microservices and why we need to consider microservices when we take your application into Google Cloud Platform or any cloud platform. If you look at, if you have a website, consider that case, and that particular website does everything and anything for you to uh, work it, right? Maybe it is like creation of your customers, serving your customers, maybe if you are a banking applications, loans, deposits, and everything is taken care by one particular fatty applications, and that is a build which is together in one bundle. It is not the case practically. If you look at, if you consider a case of banking applications, it has got even bigger chunk of the code which is bundled together, but it's not one application, it is multiple application together, seamlessly showing you that it is like one applications. But consider that one of that particular part is your monolith. Monolith means you have business logic, you have data access layer, you have UI, you have everything whatever it needs for your customer to represent UI from start to end, and that is your monolith. That is your traditional application. The way, if I had to develop website or the web applications, or web applications plus any other aspect of that particular application, I'll build it together. If this is like 15 years or 20 years minus maybe 2000, year 2000 or 2005, right? Now in case of microservices, what they said is, as because you are building these applications and you are incorporating so much of business logic together in the code base, you need to start thinking how you can break your code into smaller chunk, right? And manage it independently. Maybe a single team can manage that particular code base, and it will do one particular task, and one particular task very effectively or without any fail, right? And that is the power of microservices. So you can manage, you can deploy, you can release, or you can deploy that particular services very often. If at all that particular service is failed, you can have message which is presented on the UI that this particular service is right now not available. You can auto scale these services based on your need. So as an example, there are uh, some promotions going on, and your purchase service, right, your shopping cart and purchase service is going to take considerable amount of heat. So what you do is you just increase the number of instances which serve your shopping cart experience to the customer into say 100 of instances in the backend. And that is how, so it is independently deployable, scalable, and manageable unit of code. And this is aligned, you can think of aligned to your business. So business has got a marketing, or who's managing the shopping experience. They can control what requirement should go in when you want to release it, without impacting say customer profile management, without impacting say once the shopping is done, there is an order management flow, right, without impacting that. And that is how you can break your application into smaller unit. First, to deploy it independently. Second, to auto scale those services independently. Third, to measure the life cycle of that particular applications, or release cycle of that particular microservices, independent of any other code base or any other systems, right? Maybe there are few number of developers who are only responsible to take care of these services, and that is how you can break these microservices independently. Along with the microservices, as a business process or business logic, you can have a database also attached to it. And the power of the microservices is you can have different kind of databases based on your need. Like customer profile, you can probably go for MongoDB, or something which can manage customer profile together. If you are like looking at any other just read intensive applications, you can go to say Cassandra or something like that, some right? So all of those you can tie different databases together. If at all that is not required, you are just going to use it the full cluster or Oracle cluster, that is also fine, that is not a problem. But on top of it, on once you break this code into independent chunk of units, you can even decide or choose your own databases or own storage mechanism uh, for that particular requirement. And that is the power of, you can think of microservices. I just created, and this is, I think I got it from the web itself. um, you can have, say, microservices which are accessed, or the services which are accessed for your web applications or your mobile application. What it will happen is, it will, so the request will go to, say, API gateway, and then API gateway will talk to different microservices in the backend. So this is, you can either think of it's a proxy, uh, which will be like a wrapper around those your microservices, and then you can get the information about a particular aspect of your application from a single microservice. You can think of, or multiple microservice, depends on your need. In this case here, the passenger management is one microservice, billing management is one, another one, payments is another one, drivers management is another one, passenger web UI is different, driver web UI is different, trip management, notifications, all of those are like independent business unit or independent code base that can be deployed or that can be managed. You can have requirements to that particular code based on your departments or the way your organization works, right? And independently releasable. So that's the concept of microservices. Just an example about, as I said, you can choose different databases for different requirements or different microservices here. So your one microservice can have SQL Server database. Second one is PostgreSQL. Third one can have, say, MySQL. There are some microservices required the caching mechanism, and you can use Redis cache. There are some microservices which requires MongoDB, or you can think of customer profile, right? So MongoDB like database, or anything, right? So you can choose different kind of databases, depends on your microservice requirement or that particular business requirement, or depends on the pattern you design that particular microservice. And that is the concept which we call it as a polyglot. So based on your need, you can choose, mix and match different databases or persistent storage. So database, in other words, call it as a persistent storage, the storage which stay forever or for a longer period, and that's where you use different mechanism. That's it for the microservices. I know this is not a full-fledged microservices class, but you can get considerable amount of knowledge about the microservices on YouTube channels. If you want to learn really good microservices concepts, go for the first step is to understand how you can break down a monolith into multiple chunks or pieces. You can go to Martin Fowler, 12-factor rule, right? 12-factor designing rules for the microservices. Go for that, and then onwards you will get to know how you can design the microservices if you have not done so until today. Okay, that's it, guys. It was too much theory. I just don't want to get you bored too much, but in nutshell, that was the microservices. If you have any questions around it, just let me know, or go and do your research to understand microservice. Thanks.